Hello. So Kate has been in a big plane, William's trying to save the world, and Prince Andrew's trying to avoid some papers. About the summary of this week's royal news?
About the summary.
You know, we're recording this on a Friday. We normally do it on a Thursday, and because of one thing or another, and we won't bore you with it all, I'm rather tired this week, so this could be a fun podcast.
Just have a sleep and I'll just...
You know what, I've done that before, I think, haven't I? I've gone to
over.
sleep while you've taken over.
Yep.
Yeah, so welcome to the Royal Rota podcast. This is your weekly service of royal news. Talking of service, someone's been getting some messages from the royals this week.
Oh, God. What a segue.
Service. Oh, there's two lots of service. There's the tennis service and there's the service of legal papers. So quite an apt word
this week. The service,
this
have they or have they not? Or will they not be served?
We will, in great detail, talk to you about Prince Andrew. So you can never accuse of us, as some people sometimes do on social media, of not doing the story properly. I don't know how people reach that conclusion, but anyway, social media isn't always accurate, as I often like to point out. There's other things around. There's been a wedding in the family. Some people have appeared on the front page of Time 100 as big influencers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a varied mix, I think you would call it this week.
A varied mix. I think we're going to talk about almost every single member of the family.
Not all good. Oh, and more resignations from Prince Charles's charity.
Yes.
Yep. So all in all, a mixed bag of news for the royals this week. If you watch this because you work for the royals, then you might want to put your fingers in your ears because it's not going to be 100% positive.
Shall I do a list?
Do your list. Robinson's Royal Rundown. You have a minute. I'm going to time you this week, actually, because I'm sure you keep going over on your list. So you have... It's meant to be a minute, isn't it? Ready, steady, go.
I think you made that up, but I can do a minute.
It's 3 seconds wasted.
Prince William has announced the first 15 finalists of his Earthshot Prize today, and we learned a little bit more about the inspiration for him behind the prize. Prince Andrew, we had a first hearing in his case brought by Virginia Giuffre. The royals have celebrated Emma Raducanu's brilliant US Open win. The Duchess of Cambridge returned to royal duties this week after a weekend in France for her brother James Middleton's wedding. Harry and Meghan appeared on the front of Time magazine because they've made the list of Time 100. Prince Charles has teamed up with Jamie Oliver in a bid to reduce the colossal amount of food we waste. We found out that the Duke of Edinburgh's will remain sealed for 90 years. And there was news from Scotland Yard this week that they will not investigate Bashir on his Panorama interview.
Do you know what? You could be a reporter because that was exactly 1 minute.
That was luck.
That was very good indeed. It's the kind of thing that when we do lives into our timed news bulletins, we get shouted at if we go 5 or 10 seconds over because it upsets the rest of the programme. Lo and behold, if we go 15 or 20 or 30
You would have been screaming at me.
I know, you did that very well. I'm very impressed. Yeah,
no one knows what's coming up because I just rattled through it so quickly.
Well, do you know what? Brevity is sometimes good. And to be quite honest with you, there is so much to talk about this week that we will have to rattle through it at a rather fast rate of knots because otherwise the poor people that either tune in to watch this on YouTube or listen on their podcast devices they just won't be able to listen to it all in the course of a 10-mile run.
Well, I think there are two main things this week, aren't there? It's Prince William's Earthshot and it's Prince Andrew's court case.
Well, let me put an asterisk by them both and
you can decide where we start.
With the Duchess of Cambridge. Only because, actually, there's some pictures and there was a royal visit this week. Was it the only royal visit this week, pretty much? Anyway, I'm going to start there just because it will annoy Lizzie. So the Duchess
not where I wanted to start.
She went to RAF Brize Norton. Brize Norton is an RAF, an airfield or air base. I can't remember which. But anyway, if you're in the RAF, you probably know this. And that's where the planes that evacuated the Afghans and British civilians from Kabul went. So we can show you some pictures of Kate doing that thing. And she was there to speak to the pilots who, I mean, what an amazing job they did.
Yeah, those that were involved in the evacuation efforts, as you say. And it was the first time we've seen Kate back out and about since the summer break. So she's been away for a few weeks.
And therein lies its own topic of conversation. All these certain media outlets who've been running stories about where's Kate? Were they being unfair, or did we touch on this last week?
We touched on this last week, and I don't
But those
think
stories continued.
They continued, but I don't think it's any great surprise that we didn't see her. We don't usually see them during the summer holidays. They take some downtime with the children to spend with them while they're not at school, and it's not unusual. But she is back out and about, and first engagement this week, and I think we will now see a fair bit of her over the coming weeks.
Yes. Okay. So I said I was going to rattle through things, and I'm going to rattle through things.
Okay.
I don't remember. She didn't say anything about the evacuation, did she? But she spoke to some of the pilots who did quite an amazing job, as did the pilots from lots of different military forces, including those in the US. We should probably, while we're on Kate, should we just talk about where Kate went for the weekend?
Yes, so Kate was in France at the weekend for her brother James Middleton's wedding to Elise Thevenet. They got married. Finally, I think their wedding had been postponed. Actually,
village? Melise.
No, that's the name of his his bride, Elise.
Right, I thought you were like listing the name of the French village.
No, that's who he's actually married.
Okay, I was trying to work out where. I got it here. They got married in Baume-les-Mimosas,
which I think is in the south of France, and he posted a lovely picture, which we can show you now, of James and Elise on their wedding day, and he said that they were surrounded by friends, family, and of course lots of dogs. And those that follow James Middleton on social media will know that they have lots and lots of dogs between them.
And for those of you who want to know where Baume-les-Mimosas is, it's somewhere between Cannes in France and Toulon or Marseille, so very much on the south coast of France. I'm sure it's beautiful.
And we know that Kate, William, and all three of the children went, which I think's no surprise. She's close to her brother, and the whole Middleton family is very close, so she wouldn't have wanted to miss it.
That said, and we don't know this, there's been lots of commentary on my social media feed at least about like, why weren't you giving them a hard time for their travel down there? Like they would have flown, or presumably they didn't drive, or maybe they got the train, who knows? We don't know. The answer is we don't know. And I think people were sort of referencing how Harry and Meghan got a hard time when they went sort of on their private jets to various places in the south of the Mediterranean, didn't they? Anyway, that's just letting you know. I don't know how they travelled. A lot of people on my social media feed always ask me that question. We often ask, just to let you know, we do ask these palaces sometimes, and they never comment on travel. So there we are. Right.
They're of course not going to want to miss her brother's wedding.
And they could have travelled down by budget airline. You never know.
We don't know. We don't know.
Or they could have gone in the Middletons' private jet. I don't know the answer to the question. All I'm saying is it did get asked on my social media feed on Twitter. Right, let's do Prince Andrew, shall we? God, where do you start?
I think let's start on Monday night's court hearing.
So much happened this week.
And then we'll take you through the week.
Yeah, okay. To fill you in, today's Friday. We're recording this on a Friday. A lot of things happened on Monday. They kind of rolled into Tuesday. Something else happened on Wednesday, and further things have happened today. So there we go. It's been a week of comings and goings, all basically centred around the papers, the serving of the papers on Prince Andrew.
Yes. So first court hearing was on Monday evening.
Oh, sorry, before you start.
Yes.
Should we not even go further back? Because actually didn't the whole thing about him having the paper served at Royal Lodge wasn't in last week's podcast, was it?
No, it came on the Friday night.
Okay,
you're right.
We're going to take a few days.
Rewind back even further.
So what happened? Some papers were filed at court in the US, in New York, on the Friday, which actually were from Virginia Giuffre's lawyers. Virginia Giuffre is Prince Andrew's accuser. And they suggested that the court papers, not this, but this is to give you an idea, if you can hear me rattling it, the court papers had been served on Prince Andrew. In other words, they'd been delivered to Royal Lodge in Windsor, which is his official residence, and were left with a Metropolitan Police officer.
Yep, and in this hearing we had on Monday evening, which lasted around 30 minutes, David Boyes, who represents Virginia Giuffre, he said that they believed that they had complied with the service requirement and they had filed proof of service to Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew, represented in court by Andrew Brettler, who we'll come to in a minute. Yes, that is new. He contested the validity of service and said that it hadn't been properly served.
Right. And the judge was there going, can you guys sort this out, basically? Judge Kaplan, who would want to be Judge Kaplan this week? It all happened on the phone, by the way. We dialed in, didn't we, to the court case. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the lawyer first.
Yeah.
Andrew Brettler is the first time that he's been named in the public domain. He is a Hollywood lawyer based in Los Angeles. He has represented other individuals who have been accused of sexual misconduct before, and he is now Prince Andrew's US-based lawyer.
Yeah, so we only found out kind of in the 11th hour on Monday that he was going to appear in court on behalf of Prince Andrew. Up until that point, we were of the understanding that there would be no representatives from Andrew's team in court.
To contest this issue of service.
To contest the issue of service.
So, we could rewind a couple of bits, because he went to try and talk about the 2009 settlement that Virginia Giuffre signed with Jeffrey Epstein. We'll come to that in a minute, but let's just keep on the service issue.
Yeah.
Because fast forward to Wednesday, and Virginia Giuffre's lawyers had applied to the UK's High Court whether or not they would approve service in this country. Bar a legal technicality, they then said, yes, we would.
do. Yep.
Then Prince Andrew's lawyers contested that. This is what, I mean, one of the lawyers we spoke to on Monday was just talking about delay, and this is kind of Prince Andrew's tactic at the moment.
That's what they're doing. They're trying on every technicality to delay on this. And as you say, the High Court did accept the request from Virginia Giuffre's team, but today we found out that the Duke of York's legal team have now been given 7 days to contest that. Right. So it's a back and forth.
It's like a two-pronged process, because whilst this sort of argument's going on in the UK about whether they can serve the papers on him here, in the US, Prince Andrew now has the aforementioned Hollywood lawyer. So one would have thought that the judge, which he's also done now, says to Virginia Giuffre's lawyers, why don't you just send the papers to him?
Well, exactly. And the judge sort of recommended that both sides discuss this case and get to the substance, rather than sort of, he was saying that a lot of legal fees are going to be spent and time will be expended if they keep on this.
Yeah, and you might call this a publicity stunt, you might not, I'll let you decide, but the lawyers for Virginia Giuffre then released some photos of them posting the letter to Prince Andrew addressed to Royal Lodge, plus a copy of the sort of email or the letter that was inside, wasn't it? Part of this sort of now what's become a bit of a publicity campaign as well, I think, knowing, as they probably do, that Prince Andrew wants to stay silent.
Prince Andrew, who is still at Balmoral.
Yes. There have been pictures of him at Balmoral. We don't use them, but they've been in some of the UK papers.
But basically the judge said, you can be pretty sure that one way or another you will be served the papers. And
do you know what? Prince Andrew's team, as much as we have a line of communication with them, appear to be suggesting we kind of accept we'll get the papers, but his lawyers are clearly playing for delay.
Yes.
Right.
And there was a pretty strong start when Andrew Brettler first spoke in the hearing. His first words were that he basically believes this is a baseless, unviable and potentially unlawful lawsuit that the plaintiff has filed against the Duke.
Yes, and the reason he believes that, and this is why we think this is going to be the basis of Prince Andrew's defence, is that Virginia Giuffre signed an agreement with Jeffrey Epstein in 2009. She received a payout, and Prince Andrew's lawyers think that that nullifies any future lawsuit that she might be able to bring, which is why, as Lizzie said, Prince Andrew's lawyers claim this is potentially unlawful.
Yeah, but when he brought that up, the judge very much tried to limit the scope of the hearing back to the issue of the papers and whether they had or hadn't been served before they move on to other matters. Okay,
so there we are. So this is a whole issue of papers. As we record this podcast right now, the summary is Virginia Giuffre's legal team have tried to give them to Prince Andrew. They've left them with a police officer on the gate of Royal Lodge. They've tried to get the papers through to him via the High Court. They can also try directly with the American lawyer. As we speak to you at this moment, Prince Andrew's lawyers still claim they haven't received these papers.
And the High Court has said that any challenge must be made by close of business on September the 24th.
Right. And I think it's probably worth saying, we should say that I think this is not a very good look for Prince Andrew to try and avoid getting the papers. Most people would think that if you gave it to a police officer on the gates of his official residence and the police officer said, I will get it to the legal team, that's kind of good enough.
And now both sides know who is representing who. there's a line of
Equally,
communication there
So,
too.
I mean, I'm not a lawyer. I'm a journalist, but I mean, equally, like you now have this other line of communication between Virginia Giuffre's lawyers in New York and Prince Andrew's lawyer in Los Angeles. Well, what's wrong with them using the email system
Yeah.
or the American Postal Service or taking a flight and hand carrying them? I don't know, but at some point, Prince Andrew is going to get these papers. It is worth saying and right to say as well that Prince Andrew denies the allegations that have been made against him by Virginia Giuffre, and he said in that Newsnight interview that he doesn't recall ever having met her.
I think we might be talking about this for a very long time, though. It doesn't feel like this is
Yeah,
going
but
to get
all the
resolved
while, it's. I mean, let's put the legality to one side. All the while, it's reputationally damaging for Prince Andrew. Yes, on a wider matter, it's reputationally damaging for the royal family because he's currently staying with the Queen in Balmoral, presumably having dinner with her most nights.
Yeah, it's definitely a cloud hanging over them and something that I'm sure they would all like to be resolved as quickly as possible.
He, like anyone in the eyes of the law, is innocent until proven otherwise. That's a legal point. Reputationally, trying to avoid getting these papers, I don't think is a great look. And I think, I think many people who are quite close to him as well would agree with that. Earthshot, save the world. Let's save the world, shall we?
Yes, so Earthshot.
Remind everyone what the Earthshot Prize is.
So Earthshot is Prince William's big global environmental prize, and
named after Moonshot, which was John F. Kennedy's ambition to get a man on the moon. Yes.
So that sort of gives you an idea of the scale he's talking on here, the ambition of this project. And he
Not
believes
a bad scale, £1 million for every one of the 5 finalists.
So every year there will be 5 winners. Each will win £1 million and support to try and upscale their environmental solutions to repair and protect the planet going forward.
£1 million not bad, is it? It does talk about the scale of this prize fund.
And this prize will happen every year for the next 10 years. That 10-year window being considered as sort of the most important to try and change the tide in the fight against climate change.
So we now know who some of the finalists are because they were released at midday today. So another advantage, I suppose, of doing this podcast on a Friday, because if we recorded it on Thursday, as we normally do, you wouldn't have heard any of this. So, hey, you're up to date.
Up to date. And
bang up to date.
We can bring you in a minute some of the finalists who I spoke to a little bit earlier with their ideas and what they think the money could do for them if they won.
Okay, why don't you give us a rough idea then? Two things actually. One, Prince William, he basically said the reason why I decided to do this is because in 10 years' time, if I looked my kids in the eye, I wanted to be able to tell them I did something, I tried to do something about the climate emergency.
Yes, this is very personal for Prince William. He wants to be able to, as you say, look his children in the eye and say that I did everything I could to try and help tackle climate change. And this is obviously a passion that he has inherited from his father and his grandfather, who were both, as he called them, environmental pioneers. And the idea was born in September 2018 when he was on a visit to Namibia, and he was seeing a conservation project there, and he said, to quote from the introduction to a new book, that he wanted to find a way to bottle the innovation and community spirit and mass produce it globally. And that sort of was how the idea for Earthshot was born.
So do you want to give us a rough, we don't list all 15, but what's a rough idea of some of the ideas Rough idea of some of the ideas?
So one of the finalists I spoke to, and you can hear from her in a minute, is a 14-year-old called Venetia, and she is from India, and her idea is a solar-powered ironing cart, and she says it's estimated that there are 10 million of these ironing carts in operation across India, and each day they burn 5 kilograms of charcoal each. So they're pumping out a lot of pollution.
The ironing carts powered by charcoal.
Charcoal. And if there's 10 million of them and they're each pumping out that much.
Yeah.
And so she's designed this solar powered ironing cart, and she wants to...
Not least where you get the charcoal from, because charcoal is sort of like smouldering wood, so it involves chopping down wood in order to burn it. So, I mean, it's an ideal. I mean, I haven't heard of this. I mean, I've been to India a couple of times. I've never really seen it, but actually, it gives you an idea of, very unique issues in certain countries that could have quite a significant impact.
But she said that it wasn't just India. This could be rolled out to other countries that use these sorts of carts. And she was talking, she's only 14, and she was talking about how for her it's about protecting the planet for when she and her generation are older. They had 750 nominations for this prize. They've chosen 15 finalists. They came from 86 countries, from every continent across the world.
Good facts. 750 nominations, 15 finalists, 86 countries.
But interestingly, of the finalists, none were represented from the UK.
Well, it's a global project. I mean,
it is a global project, and it's definitely
UK
in the finalists.
Pull up your socks because there's £1 million here if you get down to the final five. So,
and I think for William, he had this sense that back in 2018 that there was this sort of wave of global pessimism around what could we do around the climate. It was all doom and gloom. So he wanted to sort of turn that into action, which is where he got the idea from.
Shall we hear your interview then?
Yes, so this is Venetia from India.
My Earthshot Prize solution is the solar ironing cut. It replaces charcoal with solar energy, and it can reduce air pollution, deforestation, and even climate change. With the solar ironing cart, the ironing vendors can earn more and save more, getting out of the brutal poverty cycle.
Being one of the youngest finalists, and also I'm just 14 years old, I didn't really expect to be a finalist in the first place. I was really happy when I got nominated. I thought that was a really big step, but coming to the finalist round, it was a dream come true for me. Solar ironing cart just works on the same principle of eliminating the usage of charcoal to replace it with solar energy. Now, India has a lot of sunny days, and to me it seemed wrong that we were using charcoal instead of utilizing all this free energy coming from the sun. It could be really powerful and used for a lot of purposes, but it wasn't being utilized to its maximum potential. Coming from a rural town, I noticed these ironing vendors almost every day. And I'm quite a friend with one of them. You could say I've grown up with him, and he's a really nice man. He has talked with me, and I've grown up with him since my childhood. Seeing him use the charcoal and suffer from respiratory diseases due to its smoke, and seeing many of the vendors in my own community dump it in the charcoal yard, the garbage, or the sewer. All of this, they're really small incidents, but they play a big impact in what my solution is. So when I saw all of this, I just knew that it was wrong, and if it's affecting the community in which I live in, it deserves to have a solution. What I want to do with the solar ironing cart is actually start a business, because I believe that innovation reveals its true potential only when it reaches the people. And when it reaches the people, you can get feedback and improve it even further. Prince William addressing the prize and founding it is something that really gives a good influence to most of the young generation out there, knowing that there's someone to look up to and someone who understands what will go on in the future. Because we've been trying to get our voices heard for such a long time, but there's always the dismissal that comes along with it, that we're too young to make a change. And I know that sounds a bit cliche coming from around 2021, but the truth is it still happens in most places. I know there are many people who have changed and accepted the fact that we have started to understand of what the future is going to be like. But there are still people who don't think that climate change is real, and they think that our efforts are something that shouldn't be taken and it's all a waste. So in that case, somebody like Prince William coming up and telling us that I'm going to provide you a platform and I'm going to help you manufacture and upscale your idea. It means a lot to us in terms of support, because many of us nominees and finalists have been trying to bring up our projects for quite a lot of years. So such a platform means a lot to all of us, and I know that we can all make a difference collectively.
Venetia from India potentially can win £1 million pounds. Actually, if you're in the last 15 and 5 of them are going to get £1 million, you've got a
Well,
30% chance of winning.
there's 5 categories, and in each categories there's 3 finalists. So,
yes, you have
she has a
30%, 33.33 recurring chance.
She does.
Of winning £1 million.
does.
Well done to her. And some others, coral reefs in the Bahamas.
Coral reefs in the Bahamas, a project called Coral Vita in the Bahamas, and their project is working on repairing and restoring and protecting coral reefs.
And we're doing our part to help revive our oceans by growing climate change resilient corals to restore our world's dying coral reefs.
We've lost half of the world's coral reefs since the 1970s and are on track to lose over 90% within the next 30 years. And this is obviously an ecological tragedy, but it's also a socioeconomic catastrophe because there's up to 1 billion people and 25% of marine life that relies on this one ecosystem. So our work is trying to revitalize these ecosystems, unlock funding to do ecosystem scale restoration as our leaders proactively, hopefully, work to also protect these ecosystems from dying in the first place. Our ultimate vision is we want large scale land-based coral farms in all of the 100 or so countries and territories with coral reefs around the world. That's what's needed to keep reefs alive, working hand in hand, not just on our own, with other restoration practitioners, scientists, community leaders, the private sector, governments, and winning the prize would put us in a position to jumpstart that vision and start going global even faster. People who have platforms don't always use or have to use them for good, but to see people lead who can lead is inspirational and really gratifying. And so for the Earthshots, this is a 10-year program that I think has a real ability not just to obviously uplift the finalists and the winners, but also drive more people around the world to start problem solving, more people who have the power to lead, to start leading, to solve these problems in the first place, to fund these solutions, to implement policies that can create change, to change industrial practices so that this isn't something that requires Earthshots. So it's incredibly exciting, and we could not be prouder to be part of such an amazing community and working to repair our planet.
So Earthshot is coming towards a conclusion. Actually, what was the funny video? We'll show you it now of Prince William typing on a typewriter. I mean, there's a book that's been released to coincide with Earthshot.
There is.
He's written a forward to it.
Exactly. Earthshot, How to Save Our Planet.
So have a look at this picture. This is Prince William. If you don't reckon, I mean, if you're probably young enough not to know what the heck that machine is, it's called a typewriter. It's what people used to type on before PCs and laptops and all sorts of other things. In fact, I remember one in my house used to sort of type away, and if you make a mistake, you had to get some Tipp-Ex out and sort of paint white paint.
It's like when you talk about how you used to make TV on the tapes, and
exactly.
you couldn't just
things you
delete.
Wouldn't understand. So you would literally have to get some white paint and put it over the mistake. Wait for it to dry, crucially, because there's no point in tapping the keyboard. Anyway, so why they put it in front of a typewriter? Because nobody uses a typewriter these days. So
well, it was just a fun way of advertising the.
I would have put him in front of an Apple Mac personally, but
well, and actually we can hear William's words as he introduced the finalists earlier today.
When we launched the prize last year, our ambition was to find the most innovative solutions to the world's greatest environmental challenges. In our first year of the Earthshot Prize, we've received over 700 nominations, representing solutions from every continent. These were submitted by over 200 nominating organisations, who helped us search every corner of the globe for the inspiring, innovative solutions to repair our planet. The ambition, quality, and range of submissions has been amazing and should fill us all with optimism and hope that our goals for this decisive decade are achievable.
Lizzie said to me during that clip that she's getting me off the typewriter, so I took that to mean I'm no longer allowed to talk about the typewriter. So why don't I ask you about when the finalists find out whether or not they get the £1 million?
So today sort of kicked off a month of action around Earthshot, and we will find out who the winners are in a ceremony on the 17th of October, which will be held at Alexandra Palace in London.
Harry and Meghan are winners. Not just winners, but they're global influencers.
They are. Agree? Well, Time 100 has listed them as one of their their most influential figures around the world, haven't they?
And I think many people would disagree with that because they have influence. Some people might not approve of what they do. Other people absolutely love what they do. But either way, you would definitely say that they are influencers. As Time 100 wrote, they are the world's most influential people because it would be much safer to enjoy their good fortune and stay silent. That's not what Harry and Meghan do or who they are. They turn compassion into boots on the ground through their Archewell Foundation. They give voice to the voiceless through media production. I could go on, but give you a flavour. If you want to read more of that quote, it's on our Instagram page, ITV News Royals on Instagram,
And we can
along with
show
lots of
you.
others. I'm just looking at all the pictures. There's a nice picture of Harry for his birthday. There's a lovely picture of Kate there.
Yeah, Harry
at the,
turned 37 this
RAF
week.
Prize Norton. Harry was 37. There's James Middleton and his wife with the French name that I can't
Elise.
pronounce. So if you want to go on Instagram, then that's a very good place to go. Just thought I'd point it out. Actually, you haven't put Prince William on here at the moment. I noticed it's missing.
I haven't. I will do that
better go
after
and do
this.
that,
I'll
yeah,
do that
please.
after this.
I'm not saying that Lizzie does it all, actually, because I did that one.
You do a
I
lot
did that
of them.
one. I did that one. That one. Actually, I've done all right. It's your turn to put something on.
It's my turn. I'll do it after
Right.
this.
Okay. So
Should
Time
we
100.
show, are we showing the pictures of Time 100?
Let's show
There
the
was
pictures.
some
New portraits. This is their first ever joint cover photo.
First ever joint magazine cover photo. Yes,
Right. Here it is.
we got there.
Yes. There is some meme doing
First
the
time they've ever
rounds.
posed for one.
There's a meme
together.
doing the rounds. I think I'll just let you go and find it if you want,
Yeah.
which is something to do with Harry looks like he's Meghan's hairdresser. But even people who don't work in news or royal news have sent me it this week. So anyway, I'm not going to dwell on that because some people will shout at me, some people will laugh, and it's just and
one of those
you can find it out there if you want it. So those are the pictures that were in Time magazine. Looks like I don't know where they are actually. It doesn't say. Is it in their garden? Don't know. Anyway. Shall we talk about? Let's stay in America. We've been in America quite a lot. Harry and Meghan, US lawyers for Prince Andrew.
Yeah.
And what else happened in New York in this past week?
Emma Raducanu won the US Open tennis in a brilliant
Now,
final.
if you're watching in America or listening in America and you think, I hadn't heard or you haven't heard of Emma Raducanu until she won the US Open, we'd barely heard of her really before then, and she just did pretty well at Wimbledon this year and then had to sort of pull out. Well, we were so impressed with her for winning the US Open. She's now a megastar here. I hope she is in the US as well. She went to the Met Gala, what's it called? The Met Ball? Met Gala?
Yeah.
The thing the big fashion thing in New York.
She's
Got £1.8 million. She could maybe give some of that to Prince William
become a
for his Earthshot Prize.
global superstar
Yes.
overnight, hasn't she?
Anyway, what's the royal connection?
The royal connection is moments after her amazing win on Saturday night, which I was rather glad was at a more reasonable time than her semi-final, which got up at some unearthly hour for.
Dedication.
The Queen wrote a message, which we can show you here.
Here is the message from said Queen. And do you know what? If you want to know where to find it, you could go on our aforementioned
Instagram page.
ITV News Royals Instagram
And
page. 'Cause here it
Kristen-
is. I'm going to read it from there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do a Queen impression. I send my congratulations to you on your success in winning the United States Open Tennis Championships. It's a remarkable achievement at such a young age. Emma Raducanu is 18 years of
18.
age.
She's just done her A-levels.
A-levels is what you take in the UK when you're sort of 18 years old, like an exam.
Before you go to university or college.
Indeed.
Yep.
At such a young age. It's a testament to your hard work and dedication. I have no doubt your outstanding performance and that of your opponent will inspire the next generation of tennis players, which is very true because we're running an interview on our news tonight with Emma Raducanu who says she can't get a court at her local tennis club because so many people have decided they want to take up tennis.
So she had a
Great.
letter from the Queen, which she said that
She was gonna
she'll
frame.
probably frame. And
I would.
the Duchess of Cambridge also wrote a personal tweet. We know that because it had a C at the end congratulating her. And that's no surprise. We know the Duchess is a huge tennis fan herself. She's also patron of the various tennis organisations here in the UK, including the LTA.
I can see a photo call coming up at some point.
I
mean, I
can
don't
too.
know of one. I just can imagine that you would want to meet.
She would.
I'm sure she would want to meet Kate. Maybe she's going to meet the Queen. Who knows?
Who knows?
We're
Maybe she'll
guessing.
get an honour.
I mean, this is not informed opinion, by the way. This is just
This
us
is just us
guessing.
speculating. But maybe she'll get an honour and then she would meet the Queen.
Yeah, actually, talking of honours, there's a whole story to do about that involving Prince Charles. But I just wanted to wrap up to say that was quite quick for the Queen because she often sends stuff out, a day or two afterwards. But that
It landed in my inbox at 11:20 p.m.
Yeah.
So really
so
not
the Queen
long
was at
after.
her computer at 11.
Or her typewriter.
18, a typewriter.
Maybe she's borrowed it from Prince
Yeah,
William.
but how do you get it from the typewriter into email? Tough. Maybe
Tough.
she's there with her typewriter and the Tipex.
Well, a carrier pigeon
Do you know what
didn't
Tipex
arrive
is?
on
Have you
my.
heard of Tipex?
I have.
All right,
I have.
good, okay.
A carrier pigeon didn't arrive on my doorstep with a note from the Queen to.
or an owl from Harry Potter. Right, we were talking about Prince Charles. While we were talking about Prince Charles, the ongoing problems with his charity, we gave you a kind of summary last week, didn't we, about what happened with the Saudi billionaire and the donation from him. Last Sunday there was another set of stories in a couple of Sunday newspapers here in the UK alleging that there was a pot of money from a wealthy Russian guy that was kind of turned out. I kind of thought everyone did their job. Prince Charles wrote a letter to say thank you very much for giving us some money. You kind of would. And then the ethics committee at the Prince's Foundation looked at the money and thought, we're not sure about it. We can't be sure it's clean, so let's not take it. They then sort of suggested that the Prince's Trust, another of his charities, said, well, why don't you have this money? And they looked at it and went, no, we're not sure it's clean. Kind of the checks and balances, I would say, were in there. The issue with these allegations is that, well, why was it passed from one charity to another when they've already decided that it was potentially not clean money?
Yes, and as a result of not just Sunday, but the last few weeks of headlines and reports means that there's been some more people temporarily stepping back from the Prince's Foundation for the time being.
Yes, I think some people have stepped down temporarily, like, for example, Michael Fawcett. I think some of these resignations this week were actually permanent. So therefore, the trustees of the charity are looking into this. They've also brought in an external auditor to look at the sort of money trail, I suppose. I suppose the damaging part of this, if there were to be one, would be whether or not Prince Charles knew about it. His team maintain that he doesn't. He doesn't get that closely involved. Yes, he writes letters to say thank you, but beyond that, he wasn't aware of what his team were alleged to have done. But yes, we've had 3 resignations now? The chairman, the head of fundraising, and Michael Fawcett, the CEO.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think we're at 3.
Yeah. Right. So actually, as I tweeted in the week, actually, have a look at this. This is the front page of the Daily Mail. I said on Thursday morning, not a great set of headlines, all in all. I mean, the Daily Mail never writes positive things about Harry and Meghan in any case, but if you look at this set of headlines, it's not a great look for the royal family. They're having a tricky year.
A tricky year, yes.
Again.
Definitely a turbulent year, yes.
Yes. Right. Okay. The only thing left on my list says Duke of Edinburgh will.
Duke of Edinburgh will.
Anything on your list that isn't on mine?
No.
No. Okay, good. Duke of Edinburgh will.
Duke of Edinburgh will. So we
Sealed?
found out
Secret?
yesterday that it's going to remain sealed to protect the dignity of the Queen because of her constitutional role. And this is no
Sealed for how long?
surprise for
30 years?
90 years.
90 years.
90
Wow.
years.
Jeez.
And
So this will be revealed to the nation in 21.
there's some maths going on.
Yeah, can you hear my head
Whirring.
2111. Wow, I won't be here.
I don't think. I won't be here.
Oh, you're a youngster. You're probably still.
No, even that. I'm
21,
not that
11.
young.
Whoa.
So, after the death of a senior member of the royal family, is convention for an application to seal their will is made to the president of the family division of the High Court. So, it's normal for that to
You can
happen.
use the word secret, and you can use the word private as well. I mean, because actually,
Private or
yeah.
sealed, yes.
Secret appears to be trying to hide something. Was private is a kind of different meaning, isn't it? Anyway.
And the judge said it was to do with the constitutional position of the sovereign, and that it would be appropriate.
Constitutional position is the head of state.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it would be appropriate
fine.
practice. So that was an update there.
Okay, done.
I think we are. There's been lots this week.
Seriously, I hope you're keeping up with it all. I mean, the Prince Andrew stuff in particular is very, very hard to keep up with.
Yes.
And it kind of changes hourly.
Hourly, yes.
But anyway, he looks like he's going to get these papers served on him at some point, and then we've got a whole new story to tell you, which is, when it gets into the substance of the actual case. But that is for the future. For now, one thing I was going to say, we can't normally talk about things that are happening, but actually there is something happening on Monday involving the Queen's green canopy that they've already told us about and put into the public domain, which is all about you might have heard us talk before about plant a tree for the Jubilee. Planting season's coming up in the UK. It happens in about October onwards, is that right?
Yes.
Ask a gardening type person.
You're right, it's in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and there is the famous Chelsea Flower Show is happening in the autumn, in the fall, whatever you're from, this year because of the pandemic. And so they're going to start encouraging people, and you probably will hear a lot about this, about planting a tree for the Queen's Jubilee next year.
And at the autumn Chelsea Flower Show, there will be a Queen's Green Canopy garden that will be unveiled and begin to encourage people to start their tree planting.
Yes. I was just looking at something else and whether I could say about it, but it's...
Yeah, and that's why I paused there, because I thought...
No, I just checked. It says at the top in red letters, strictly embargoed. So I'm not going to tell you about that one.
It's difficult remembering what we can and can't say sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you very much for your continued loyalty, either by YouTube or by your podcast platform, to our weekly ramblings on all matters royal. I would like to say it was a rather coherent chat, but I think that would probably be over slightly. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.